We've all seen it. I mean, you know the scene. It's the climax of the romantic comedy that basically defines love for a whole
Oh,
generation.
yeah. The rain-drenched kiss.
The mad dash through airport security, the big public declaration with a boombox or some kind of flash
Right,
mob.
the spectacle. And it's such a powerful idea because it tells you that love is all about size, about magnitude, that it's measured in these huge dramatic moments.
But if you pause the movie and actually look at the source material, at decades of relationship science, the truth is, well, it's surprising. And frankly, it's a lot less dramatic.
It really is.
Consistency, that reliable, quiet, sometimes even boring stuff, it just trumps magnitude every
Yeah.
single time.
That's it exactly. And that's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to take all these sources you've pulled together, from the Gottman Institute to analyses of love bombing, and really redefine what actually builds trust and intimacy.
So we're moving away from that big, flashy, grand gesture.
Completely. And we're moving towards something quieter.
Yeah.
Something that requires real psychological courage, daily vulnerability.
Okay, let's just jump right in with some data. What do people in the U.S. actually say makes them feel loved?
This is where it gets so clear and almost mundane. The core finding is just consistency over spectacle. A study from Penn State asked people this exact question.
And the answers weren't diamond rings or surprise trips.
Not at all. The top answers were small gestures, daily acts of kindness, physical touch, things like a hug, holding hands, or just someone being fully present with you.
That immediately just flips the script on what we're taught romance is. It's not the one-time huge gesture. It's the small, thoughtful hand squeeze that happens every day.
Precisely. And what's so fascinating is that the study found that behavioral actions, what people actually do, were seen as much stronger indicators of love than just saying the words, I love you.
So the actions feel more authentic.
They carry more weight. It means that, a child snuggling up to you or your partner bringing you a cup of coffee without you asking, it registers deeper. It feels more trustworthy than just words alone because it's proof.
Observable proof.
That's the key. And this takes us straight to the work of Dr. John Gottman. His motto basically confirms this whole principle.
Small things often.
Small things often. It sounds so simple, but that really is the formula for a lasting relationship, isn't it? It's not about the one big thing you do a year, but the small intentional moments you create every single day.
That repetition, that's what builds the pattern.
It's crucial. Gottman's research is all about turning towards your partner as often as you can, noticing their bids for connection and responding. And he found this amazing ratio.
The 5-to-1 ratio.
That's it. Couples who thrive have 5 positive interactions for every single negative one. And those small things, the hug, the how is your day, those are the bricks you use to build up that positive side.
Okay, so if the positive side is built on small things, what's on the negative side? What's the 1 in that ratio?
The 1 is what Gottman calls the 4 horsemen. That's criticism, contempt, which is the absolute worst ones, defensiveness, and stonewalling.
So the small acts are like a buffer against those.
They're a buffer. If you're confidently turning toward each other with kindness, a little disagreement doesn't spiral into contempt. It just stays a disagreement.
Let's make this concrete. The sources use an example of a couple, Jake and Kristen.
Yes, this illustrates it perfectly.
Yeah.
So Jake felt loved when Kristen would just give him a hug and ask about his day when he got home. A simple little ritual.
A reconnection.
Right. And for her, Kristen felt loved when Jake just noticed her unopened cell phone bill on the counter and paid it so she wouldn't get a late charge.
It's pure attention to detail.
That's the real dividend. It's not glamorous, but that consistent attention, it builds stability. It reduces uncertainty and makes you feel secure. That's the emotional foundation of the whole thing.
And that foundation has a real psychological payout, doesn't it?
Oh, a huge one. Research links feeling loved and appreciated on a daily basis to better self-esteem, a greater sense of purpose, even more optimism. You are literally healthier and more resilient when your partner's actions consistently make you feel safe.
Okay, so if these small acts are the foundation, let's get into the mechanics. What do they actually look like? This brings us to the acts of service love language.
Right. So acts of service, it's basically showing love through practical, intentional actions. The whole goal is just to make your partner's life a little bit easier.
It's about taking something off their to-do list.
Their mental or physical to-do list, yeah. But it requires real awareness. You can't just say blindly do the dishes.
Right, because what if they actually enjoy that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Has to be tailored. It's about you handling the tax paperwork because they hate administrative tasks but love to cook.
Hmm.
You're taking on the thing that causes them real stress. That's when they feel truly seen.
And these don't have to be huge, time-consuming things either. I was really interested in this idea from psychologist Dr. Eli Finkel, who talks about love hacks.
I love that concept. It just lowers the barrier to entry. Anyone can find 5 minutes.
A 5-minute love injection. But does it feel, I don't know, a bit manipulative, like you're gaming the system?
I don't think so, because the intention is connection, not control. A love hack could be leaving a sweet note in their work bag, or just stopping what you're doing to hold their hand for 30 seconds. It's about a small investment for a big return on that 5-to-1 ratio.
So beyond these spontaneous acts, the sources also point to creating rituals, routines, which sounds like the opposite of romance.
It seems counterintuitive, but routine builds predictability, which creates safety. Dr. Gottman, for instance, recommends a daily stress-reducing conversation.
Just 15 or 20 minutes a day?
That's it. And the rules are so simple. Each person gets to talk about what's stressing them out, but the other person's job is just to listen. No advice unless it's specifically asked for.
That is so important. You're not there to fix it. You're just holding the space for them to vent. And then there's the famous 6-second kiss.
The kiss with potential. It sounds a little clinical, but it's effective. 6 seconds is just long enough to move past a simple peck and create a real moment of connection.
I can just imagine someone timing it on their watch. Wait, 2 more seconds.
But you're right, it forces you to be mindful. And that mindfulness is the entire point. Which brings us to what happens when things go wrong. Because they will.
This is where that foundation of small acts gets really tested.
It's the ultimate test. And repair attempts are critical. All those small habits, saying please, thank you, I'm sorry, they build the trust you need to get through a conflict.
And specifically, apologizing, taking responsibility.
That is the ultimate small act of repair. It's the antidote to defensiveness, one of those 4 horsemen. A sincere apology where you take full responsibility for your part. It just stops the damage from spreading.
Okay, so we've established that real, lasting connection is built on this bedrock of small, reliable daily acts. Now let's use that idea of intention to pivot and look at the opposite. Why can the big, flashy, grand gesture be such a serious red flag?
This is such a crucial shift in thinking. Because while those small gestures build trust, the theatrical ones can signal a really negative intention. Control. Performance. Especially when they happen really early in a relationship.
And the term the source's flag here is love bombing.
Yes. Love bombing is an early-stage manipulation tactic. It's about overwhelming someone with excessive affection, flattery, gifts. But the goal isn't to celebrate them. The goal is to gain control and create emotional dependence fast.
It's like you're creating an emotional debt. You've received so much that you feel like you owe them, which makes it harder to set boundaries later on.
That manufactured guilt is the whole point. The sources call this the gift becoming a hook, not a gift. Real generosity doesn't come with strings attached. If it feels like too much, too soon, you really need to check the motive.
Let's get into some of those specific examples from movies that we all think are romantic, but are actually kind of problematic.
Well, the biggest one is probably the trope of relentless pursuit. In real life, ignoring the word no is not romantic. It's a complete disregard for consent.
The famous example is from The Notebook, right? Where he threatens to harm himself unless she agrees to go out with him.
That's coercion. It's manipulation disguised as passion. Real passion respects boundaries. And then there's the grand public declaration, like the end of The Graduate.
Which everyone sees as the ultimate romantic move. Look how much he cares.
But he's prioritizing the performance for the audience over her comfort. It puts immense pressure on the other person to say yes, to respond favorably. It takes away their right to process things privately and safely.
What about the surprise visit? This seems so sweet.
It can be. But if it's constant, and if it starts to feel like a test of your availability or loyalty, then it's not a surprise. It's surveillance. It's control dressed up as romance.
So the key is always checking that motive. If their affection is used as a tool, if it gets withdrawn to make you chase it.
That's intermittent reinforcement. That is classic conditioning, designed to make you anxious and dependent. That is not stable, dependable love.
So if the grand gesture can be manipulative and consistency is the bedrock, what's the emotional currency that actually allows for real depth in a relationship?
That currency is vulnerability.
And so many of us think of vulnerability as weakness, putting up a shield so you don't get hurt.
It's the exact opposite of weakness. Vulnerability is courage. Psychologically, it's defined as uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure. And if you put up that shield, you might avoid feeling shame or fear, but you also block your ability to feel joy, love, and true connection. You're basically trading discomfort for numbness.
So asking for help, admitting you made a mistake, saying, I'm scared, those are actually acts of courage.
Profound courage. And they build real intimacy and trust. But, and this is a huge caveat, you can only be vulnerable if you feel safe. All those small, consistent acts we talked about, they build the safety net that makes vulnerability even possible.
This is where the science gets a little dense, but it's fascinating. The sources say that for intimacy to emerge, vulnerability has to be under what they call appetitive functional relations. Can you break that down?
Yeah, let's unpack that jargon. Think of it this way. If vulnerability is under aversive relations, it means you're being vulnerable to escape something bad. You feel trapped?
Like, I'll only apologize if it will stop you from being mad at me.
Precisely. It's fear-based. Appetitive relations are the opposite. You're being vulnerable to access something good, more connection, more understanding, growth. You feel empowered and free.
So for intimacy to be safe, vulnerability has to be consensual, growth-oriented, and empowering.
Yes. And the sources make a critical point here that's often missed. This all depends on the power dynamics in the relationship.
What do you mean by that?
The person with more power or privilege in any given interaction has the responsibility to create that safe, appetitive context. They have to make it safe for the other person to risk being vulnerable without being punished for it.
Give us a simple example, maybe in a domestic setting.
Okay, imagine a couple where one person holds all the financial power. The other partner needs to be vulnerable and admit they made a costly financial mistake.
The person with the money has the power to either punish them or validate them.
Exactly. If they respond with contempt or shame, that's an aversive context. They've weaponized their power. The vulnerable partner learns one thing: never admit a mistake again.
But if they respond by listening and problem-solving together, the context becomes appetitive.
It creates safety. The person with more power has just shown that emotional risk leads to connection, not punishment. That is the ethical responsibility of power within intimacy.
That's a profound point. Vulnerability itself isn't enough. The context has to be safe. So what does this all mean for us thinking about our own relationships?
It means we've established that real connection isn't built on the big cinematic thrill. It's built on the daily grind of small, consistent acts and the incredible courage of vulnerability. We have to decide if we're investing in performance or if we're investing in depth.
And I think that leaves us with this final kind of uncomfortable thought. The grand gesture gives you that immediate thrill, but it's fleeting. Vulnerability is what gives you a durable path forward.
Exactly.
Choosing immediate comfort, avoiding the risk of saying, I'm sorry, or I need help, that actually leads to chronic instability. But the initial discomfort of taking that emotional risk, of choosing to be vulnerable, that is the only real path to connection and resilience. It's the daily choice to put the relationship ahead of your own defense. That's the work that actually lasts.